Good morning, I'm Ilka Oster.
Morning, I'm Jo Drennan.
Jo, do you think we train our children to not be honest with us?
Well, I know that I did that. I recall a great story once of, well, firstly, honesty was expressed as a high value in our home. And the kids knew the importance of being honest. And then there was one day I went shopping for one of my kids, brought some clothes without them, brought them home, and she didn't like them. And she basically told me that she didn't like them.
How dare she not like the clothes you bought?
Outrageous. And she got in trouble, which was kind of about getting in trouble for, how dare you not appreciate, be grateful, all that sort of thing. But really, I think, did I want to confuse her? On one hand, I'm saying, we highly value honesty. And on the other hand, don't be honest with me if it's going to offend me.
Yeah.
Oh, in hindsight, sorry to my child for that one.
Yeah, I was asking my daughter about this last night in the car, and I said, was there anything that you couldn't be honest with me about when you were growing up? And she was like, oh yeah, we never told you about all the sweets and things that we ate because I was such a health Nazi and I never had sugar in the house. So if they went out and ate lollies or something like that, they used to just hide it from me. I did used to find lolly wrappers under the bed, and of course I would get really cranky and angry at them. So of course I was training them into it's not safe to be able to tell me these things, even though for me, honesty is one of my highest values. I want my kids to be honest with me, and yet that's what I was doing.
We think we're doing
Where
doing
does it
the
come
right
from?
thing. Where does it come
from
well,
in our own childhood? Did you experience?
Yeah, well,
for
for me, it was very much about not speaking up. I learned to not be honest, basically to not be honest with myself. For many years, my childhood, my adult years, I would go through these, just having a conversation with people, I'd go through these thoughts in my mind and not say things, purposely question, should I say that, shouldn't I say that, how would they respond to that? I'm always preempting their responses and then choosing to not say anything. And silence is just as dishonest as telling a lie.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's like that another example is when you go to a family gathering or whatever and you ask your kids to give Auntie Mary a hug, and the week before you're basically maybe giving them a lecture on the importance of not letting people touch them and all of that, and then you're angry when they're not showing open appreciation for not wanting to, or not, they don't want to hug Auntie Mary and they're not really happy about it, but we're angry with them.
So how they behave socially.
We've got the big man here.
how they look, how they behave socially is more important than being honest. So we really have to get clear on where our value lays.
Yeah, and I think that's what, from talking about this morning, Jo and I have really realised that this is where our monkey mind came from. It was like we had all of this going on because there was a polite way to say things. There was always a right way of doing something, and it was usually our parents' way of doing it. So even though they were trying to keep us safe in the social norms, and that was what I was doing with my children as well, when I was asking to say please and thank you all the time, and all the things we get our children to do, but it turned my mind into a monkey mind, because I was always questioning what's right to say. And the biggest message we're getting across with this is that our own honesty was left way, way, way back on the shelf. The mind's going flat stick.
Yeah.
So I know, talk about what you did for the first time you started to actually be able to speak your own mind first.
Well, I took some pretty drastic steps, but I was at 47 and I decided to do improv comedy. And the main reason I decided to do this is because when you turn up, it's about just going with your first thought. And, this stopped me. I knew that I wouldn't be allowed to overthink. And also that one of the rules in improv comedy is that you look after your partner. So we're in teams, and nothing I could say would ever be wrong. I could say anything. I could swear. I could anything.
And in fact, they used to say, and yes,
yes,
and keep going.
Partner, your partner would go, and yes, and then keep going, and then the back and forth banter, and you supported your partner. So this was giving me a safe space to express whatever came into my mind, and not being concerned, not preempting, not overthinking. How will they respond? And this was brilliant.
Freeing.
Freeing. It was so far out of my comfort zone. But what I found interesting when I started doing it, I did it for 8 weeks. It was a 3-hour round trip every week. What changed was the conversations I had with my children, even after the first week, because we used to do crazy stuff like move your body and stuff. You really had to let go of looking silly, making mistakes. And I found that as I became less judgmental of myself, I also became less judgmental of my kids, and our conversations became easier.
Yeah, because it really is all about our ability to be honest with ourselves. And for me, when we were talking about this morning, I realised that it was a similar thing for me when I started Faster EFT. It was a safe place for me to actually be honest about my emotions and not judge. I mean, I even thought there's a tiny bit still there, because last week when I was talking about my father not picking me up from school, even though now that doesn't bother me anymore, but there's a tiny little bit of judgment seeped in, but from the old days, because now I'm saying these things publicly. But because it's really ingrained, this thing of judging ourselves for how we feel. But Faster EFT was where I could sit with somebody and go back to how it really felt to be abandoned at school. And by going into those feelings as well, and the thoughts about those feelings, and being able to freely express them, it really was freeing. I could be honest with myself for the first time, and really start to actually know who I am. Yeah. So it's pretty amazing stuff. And I think on the other side of honesty is a lot of joy, a lot of freedom, even though it's scary as hell to go there at the start.
It's extremely scary. Like I completely understand the stats on public speaking, and the majority of people would choose death over public speaking. I recall what would go on inside my body. It was like my blood was boiling, and this is simple conversations where I disagreed with somebody and I could not speak up. I remember being 14 years old, and I had a friend who was a boy, and I thought we were just friends, and he sat next to me one day and he held my hand, and I couldn't say anything, yet inside my blood was boiling. I didn't want this to happen.
Because you didn't want him to, hold your
I didn't want him to hold my hand. I thought we were just friends, but I couldn't say anything. So then after that incident, I just avoided him. Rather than be honest, and simple things like that, like the Auntie Mary stories. What are we teaching our kids to not speak up and be truthful because of the social conditioning we place on them, and how it's more important about how we look in society, or how we say please and thank you, rather than being honest.
Yeah, honest. I love how honest kids are, and I think we can learn a lot from them.
We can.
We definitely can. They're teaching us how to be joyful, how to be silly, how to be all those amazing things that we can get to again once we start. I really believe once we start being honest with ourselves.
Yes.
So
that
got
joy
the courage,
and
go there.
Yeah, the joy and creativity of a child when we look at those 2 and 3 year olds and see how happy they are. We can get that back as adults.
Definitely.
Don't wait 47 years though.
Like we did. Start asking honest questions of yourself today.
Yeah.
And that's a really good way to start. It's just to think, well, how do I know what I'm feeling now? Just just a simple question like that and keep diving deeper and deeper on it. Yeah, it can get scary. There's techniques and tools that you can use. I use tapping to really get you through this, but on the other side of it is just the most amazing life. So yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us again here at Mooloolaba Beach, and we'll see you next Wednesday. And
inspire your children today
through being your true self.
Yeah. Bye.